do.
Okay, we're gonna look at the meeting minutes. Anybody, when they're ready, can make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the June 5th meeting minutes.
Okay,
Second.
second. No discussion follows other than, all in favor?
Aye.
You do have the applicant present for new business item A.
So we shall jump.
Thank you. I'm here to answer any questions if you have anything.
Mark, how do you say your last name?
Gilloolly, Gillooly.
Thank you.
58 Kingston Avenue.
You weren't related to a Phyllis, were you?
No.
Did we have input on this last time around, paperwork?
This doc application, public notice was, I think, the day before your last meeting, so some of you were aware of it
Right.
coming out, but it wasn't advertised on your last agenda, so you couldn't discuss it. So we asked for an extension from CRMC for 30 days so that you could meet in July to review it.
Yeah, so the one we just did is like right next to this, right? That was in that same area. Yeah.
It's in the same area, I'm not sure, is it directly adjacent or it's 2 south?
It is one dock, it's south of me, one additional dock.
There's the one in between you and the one that was just reviewed.
So this is one of the grandfathers. Right.
That's my understanding, that this is also a grandfather. I think there's some issues going on down there that CRMC is looking at, and maybe you can speak better, but this is just a formality of getting them
Yes.
introduced.
Yeah, what happened was they took a review of the docks that were in compliance and out of compliance. I have a home on the water. I have approximately seven applications that have been approved. I did have this dock in its original state. In December, 2 years ago, we had that bad storm. My platform got washed away. In the process of it getting washed away, I rebuilt the platform without proper approvals with CRMC.
Do you own the dock just to the south there too?
No, I do not. That dock that's a grandfather dock that belongs to a member of somebody on the street.
Okay. Is that the one with the ramp going to it? The one just south of you?
Yes.
Yeah. There's like a ramp that comes from the street and goes to it, yeah.
Any other discussions?
I mean, it's nearly identical to the last application where you have the contested land, but it's grandfather, we made that decision, we discussed that, so I don't think we need to revisit that discussion. And I don't see any issues with the application as presented. That's my take. I'm certainly open for discussion.
No. So one of the items that was discussed with your neighbor's dock was the status and any information on that strip of land between your property and the river. I don't know if you have any information to shed light on that at all. That's something that comes up frequently.
Well, having lived on Narrow River in that immediate area, it goes back to 1925, and everybody understood that in the archives somewhere there was a strip of land. But then when CRMC got involved with trying to upgrade the boat ramp on Mitchell Park Avenue, that came into play, and that's where the whole discussion came up. That then got brought to CRMC's attention. So in my case, I had to give out 94. CRMC had to CMC had to notify in writing the 94 abutting property owners. And as of yesterday, there was still no request for open meeting.
Well, I think you're right, we'll stay away from all that morass, not in our purview anyway.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to, no objection to the plans as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Also, thank you for serving. I was on the town council in Barrington, I know what it's like to serve on committees, trying to get committees and get quorums and get consensus. It deserves a lot of credit. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, thanks for coming in.
If you don't mind, out of interest, I am interested in the Narrow River dredging off the riverside. I'm gonna just stay for that and excuse myself.
Yeah, it's a public meeting, so yeah, you can stay.
That's
And
just
thank you for bringing it to the business to the front of the meeting.
That's just an FYI for us anyway.
It is, yeah, it's, I don't know if you're ready to move on to that.
We can, if you're interested
Yeah.
in it, nothing prevents us from doing that.
Yeah, so that was just released. I actually received it from the gentleman, Craig, who was here at the last meeting. I wasn't notified by CRMC or DEM, but I just wanted to pass it on to you folks because it's a big project with broad implications to the Narrow River ecosystem and boat traffic as a whole. So I just wanted you guys to be aware, but to your point, it is in Narragansett. So generally, we don't weigh into applications outside of South Kingstown unless they directly affect the town of South Kingstown.
Do you have any more information outside of what's in CRMC document?
No, this was, like I said, Craig forwarded it to me. That's the first I had seen it. I knew that they were discussing it. CRMC had attended the spring meeting that we have, the Narrow River Preservation Association. They do a boating safety forum in April usually at the Metatuxet Yacht Club, and there was some discussion there. But since then, I hadn't heard anything. I think there's been quite a few discussions with the town council in Narragansett about it.
I know they have a working group that's been
Yeah.
looking at it. I was just curious if you had any more details on,
I don't.
you know, cost and who's paying for it, if they're getting funding for it.
Yeah, I don't have any of those details. I mean, certainly we could check with Narragansett if it's
No, it's not a big deal. I was just more curiosity out of
Yeah.
anything. So it'll be interesting to see where they put the dredge spoils, because it's going to become public land.
Right, right.
Probably already is, right?
What's that?
It probably already is.
Well, it's that back side is contested with the Dunes Club, you know, because they own that property, and so it's been kind of a back and forth over, you know, how much of that is owned by the Dunes Club and how much is actually still public land. But if they start putting the spoils there, that's going to really reinforce the public land aspect of it. So.
I want to say, and don't quote me on this, that there was discussions by either the gentleman who's in charge with the or who's the president of the Metatuxet Yacht Club or CRMC's executive director. I'm leaning more towards the yacht club president, that there was going to be cost sharing with the Dunes Club. That seems to ring familiar to me, to the tune of maybe $1 or $2 million, possibly. Don't quote me on that. And then I think Narragansett was the other party. I don't think there was any other parties. I don't know if there was any grant funding involved or not. There is grant money involved.
Well, pretty serious
project.
Yeah.
But we don't have it
13 feet.
Please, as a chair, can I ask just one quick question? Do you know when CMC will be notified in writing of your,
So they're not notified in writing if there is no communication back.
Okay.
But I can let Tracy Sylvia know that there were no objections. They will confirm at the next meeting, the minutes of this meeting, and that's when it'll go into the record.
okay, thank you very much again for your time.
Thanks
No
again.
problem.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
correspondence, which is the dredging, so we're over that. Okay. And old business Green Park program.
Gooseberry Dock Building, I think, had not done any work at the last meeting, so subsequent to that meeting, they did change the floats on the main pier from the gangway out to the south, which was the section that was sinking under the weight of the gangway. That seems to be floating level and as designed now. They have not done the dive work to remove the pile of stone yet. I did talk with the local diver that he's had conversations with about doing the work. So I don't know when that'll happen, but they are having conversations about it. The railing going down the path, we are hopefully meeting next week with the fabricator for the contractor that got the bid awarded. So then it will take a number of weeks for the fabricator to do that stainless steel work and install it, but that's all moving as well. So then hopefully, once those two items are done, we can finally close this project out.
Great.
And remove it from your old business.
Wouldn't that be fun? Thank you.
Sure.
Everything go okay down there over the 4th? Any issues or anything?
There was definitely some
The parking
serious
lot.
parking issues. It was pretty chaotic. The 4th itself was very busy, but no major issues. Nothing I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah.
Upper management plan update.
Yeah, the harbor management plan update saga continues. We now have top level folks from DEM weighing in to the town's objection on compelling the town to do additional work outside of what the town feels is outside of DEM's purview and regulatory authority.
Yep.
The town's legal counsel, the solicitor, has been involved from the get-go on all of this, but has now also kind of ramped up and been brought in and is, going to bring forward their recommendations. The latest was from one of the administrators today. There was an email from an administrator at DEM who's not been in previous conversations with the executive director of CRMC and various other legal counsels to address to Colonel Manny. They're not pleased with the town's stance, is my take on it. So stay tuned.
Good.
We'll see how this all shakes out, but if you remember, the town's basic contention is that they're basically usurping CRMC and requesting and trying to compel the town to do certain things that don't appear to be within the water quality certificate process or DEM's regulations,
Right.
or their authority.
Right.
This is all coming back to CRMC wanting more control over public access points that the town.
No, this is not anything to do with public access. This is entirely because of the water quality certificate,
Yep.
which is odd because the water quality, there's no proposed projects that would impact water quality. There's nothing in the plan that could change anything currently. There's what appears to be DEM rules and regulations that they are responsible to oversee and enforce, that they're trying to push down onto the municipality. And also they're requesting changes outside of what is required for the water quality. So sections that are not even anything to do with water quality, they want changed. Or they want different wording, or they want certain things. The harbor master will enforce certain things, and so it's pretty broad, but they've reviewed basically the entire plan and not just what would be a normal subject of discussion and review for the water quality certificate that we had to pay them $500 or $700 to receive, which is required to have the harbor management plan approved by CRMC. Interestingly, CRMC has been silent through this entire process. So now that there's, lawyers involved, it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Well, yeah, get your popcorn.
So stay tuned. The town's contention is that this is going to, seems like we're the first ones out of the gate. This was delayed because DEM came up with a new permit program, so they just halted everything. And now came back and said, oh, you need to apply through this new portal and do this thing. There's bugs to work out. When Brian Wagner went to put in things to go through this new portal again, things weren't working properly, things weren't being received back. It's a mess. The whole thing is a morass.
It's dead. It's totally dead, because Andrew's got something like $2.5 million worth of permit work.
Yeah, they
sitting there.
just halted all work. We're coming up with a new computer system. We're not reviewing anything until the new computer system
Right.
is rolled out.
So he's got everybody dead in the water.
Yeah, there's a gentleman living on a boat in the upper pond because he sold his house in New Jersey, bought a house here, sold his house in New Jersey, either building or buying the house, and because of this, he can't close. So he's living on his boat in the pond right now.
It's not a bad problem to have.
No, that's what I said. These are, first world problems, right? Living on a 40-foot square
Well,
fish.
but all the people that need
At least it's not
permits in
December.
place
Right.
to get
Yeah.
their living are dead in the water.
Yes. Yeah, it's a mess.
It is.
It's a
There are
mess.
hundreds and hundreds of permits.
Mind you, DEM's had this under review from the town for, I believe, over 19 months. So we're approaching
Yeah, I was
2
gonna say
years that DEM's been sitting on
2
this,
years.
doing nothing.
Right.
So, which is also the town's contention that you've had this for how long? For in essence, a rubber stamp. It's a municipality going to a government agency with no proposed water quality effect. This is a plan that sits on a shelf that guides policy that we just need you to stamp to say stuff in this plan is not going to adversely affect water quality. Which, by the way, is fed to us by CRMC. So it seems like there's a little bit of a turf war maybe going on there too, where DEM's trying to usurp CRMC and say we can do it better and we're going to kind of work this out through our channels. So anyway, that's where that is. But it's active as of this afternoon, those conversations.
Yeah. Well, I hear it every day with all those permit stuff I'm trying to put in.
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay, C, public right-of-way access item. Cold storage.
Yes, so I was at the town council meeting to give an update on hydrilla management. And during that update, during the town manager's report, I was asked by the town council members the status of this project. And I said I had requested the purchase order at that time, which has subsequently been issued, and the stickers have been ordered for the permits on my end. But we don't have a fee structure yet for this, and that was discussed and I guess left kind of open at that meeting. So that has not been determined. So after some discussion back and forth, it was decided that if the Waterfront Advisory Commission could issue a recommendation for the fee structure back to the council, the town council members would appreciate that. And then they'll move to discuss and implement that fee structure.
Well,
So I think they want either a starting point or they'll just adopt whatever you
Let's
recommend.
just, I feel we should stay with the 25 and do it and let them deal with it.
Same for resident versus non-resident?
Yeah.
Fishing licenses are different.
You know, it's such a minor thing there. I mean, and when that
I just
one
like to-
person was saying, oh, we ought to charge them hundreds and hundreds. Most of those, I wouldn't even call those boats. They're lucky they float, and half of them, they leave them there.
What's the mooring fee structure? Is it?
It's
equal?
$8 a foot for a resident and $12 a foot for a non-resident.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Connor. I would say 25 for resident, 35 for non-resident.
It's fine if you want to split it, but
I mean,
you
Yeah.
keep it minimal, whatever it is.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Entirely
would,
within your purview to make a recommendation and, they'll decide from there what they want to do.
Well, the woman that was up there, when they were kind of saying, well, let's stick it to the tourists, let's stick it to the out-of-towners, that was really offensive. And, so.
Yeah, I'm not pushing for that, but I think
Yeah.
it, you know, we do have precedent with moorings, with
Sure.
the town beach, you know, everywhere else it is, and I think it's more of a, it's not so much sticking it to the tourists, cause I don't think $35 is that
No.
extravagant, but I
No,
think
no,
it's
not at
more,
all.
if you're a resident of the town, you do get it at a discounted rate compared to
Yeah.
non-resident, so.
And that's fine, but keeping it minimal.
Yep,
Because you know, the people that have to resort to, a stick of wood to paddle out to a boat, yeah, it's not like they're millionaires. So, somebody wanna make a motion on this?
Yeah. So make a motion for the new permitting system, the fee structure of $25 for a resident and $35 for a non-resident.
second.
Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Has it been established about the mooring holders? That they get first, has that been established?
That was run to ground at our last go around with the town council.
Yeah, so they will, the rollout will include mooring holders being offered a space, and the additional spaces will go to residents first.
So they do get first,
Yes.
first.
The only thing that became contentious, I stuck into that one, was if the mooring holder should change, that the subsequent mooring holder should get access to that permit
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
You don't lose, because the one's changing, you don't lose access to your mooring because you picked it up from somebody else. It didn't make sense to me, and I don't know.
And that only pertains to Cedar Cove,
Yes.
not to Seagate Cove.
So
Right.
how does that work on the flip side of that?
Yeah.
If the current mooring holder turned it down, so
Right.
they don't have a spot, the rack is full,
Right.
and the mooring gets turned over,
Right.
but the rack's full.
If the rack is full.
Then
the
they
rack
go
is
to the
full.
top of the waiting list or
Yeah.
something? Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're saying if after the initial rollout, one mooring holder doesn't want a storage space.
Yes.
And the rack is full, then they subsequently give up their mooring. Then that mooring holder, there's not a rack
Yeah,
available.
and they want a spot.
And they go to the top of the list.
Yeah.
I would say that would include the current mooring holder if all of a sudden in the future they did need a spot, put it at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Are we okay with that one, Mike?
I'm fine with it if you are, yeah.
Yeah,
Just need a vote.
We did the vote, right?
Well, it kinda
Joe,
guys-
we going, let's do it again. All in favor for that?
Aye.
4-0. Okay.
Roads and waterway ordinance revisions.
Yeah, I mean, you folks had talked about looking at the, transient mooring, trying to establish transient moorings and, how to regulate dinghies on the backside of the public, dock at the boat ramp. I think that's a work in progress, so whenever you folks want to circle around with that, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to make that a focus for, you know, whether we have a separate work session or add it to the agenda for discussion in September. Just so, because if we can start kicking that off going into the fall and discuss it through the winter, maybe we get things changed by springtime.
Sure. Okay.
So,
If you've sent stuff,
yep.
we can put stuff back out that's something you want to
Yeah.
work at, so people have a couple months to look at it if they have
Yeah.
time and come back with recommendations.
On a side note, just going back up to, the survey work on the Matunic area. It was interesting, last night at Hale House, we had one of the guys from the Rhode Island Historic Commission and Rich Yunkin give a presentation on Matunic, in Matunic Park, from back in the 1800s. There's a lot of information there about, they called it the highway that went in and wrapped around the peninsula. Peninsula by Mary Carpenter's.
Oh, yeah?
So there's a lot of historic information there. They're gonna do a bigger presentation on a town, sponsored, historic research of that whole area. So, I think it'll be up, I'll get you the link for it. I think he's gonna post it up on the Hale website.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's quite fascinating, and all the old buildings that are in there. Kind of gives you an idea of how it evolved from
Yep.
farm fields into tourist industry. It's quite an interesting presentation.
Nice.
All right, coastal road and public right of way to the water survey. That's why I brought up E, because a lot of what they talked about was in that area.
Yeah. So I think we should hopefully have this buttoned up shortly to be able to put out an RFP for this. So it'll just be a matter of finalizing with the other departments and then drafting it and getting it out. But Carol did a lot of good work, historical work on the plat maps and stuff like that, information, so. She's retiring in a couple weeks, I think.
Is
So,
she gonna fully retire? Or
Yeah.
Part-time?
I believe fully retired. I'm not sure if she'll like contract back through for certain things.
Yep.
Or, I don't know how that'll work.
How about the parking lot of Marina Park?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's chaotic. It's vehicles blocking trucks and trailers, and trucks and trailers blocking the lane to get out of the parking lot. And
Wasn't there a big fight or something that broke out a week or two ago?
possibly, not that I'm aware of, but it's possible.
I think I had the radio on.
Oh, okay.
And,
Due to parking?
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I get aggravated just looking at it.
Somebody blocked in somebody
Yeah.
else, and I don't know, all of a sudden there were ambulances and.
Oh, interesting. I didn't get that memo, but it doesn't surprise me.
I just heard it on the 800.
Yeah, it's a mess. And you know, as we've discussed, I saw this coming. We got Parks on board and the Rec Commission on board, and it just became a function of manpower and funding. So I did provide to you in your packet the one page, essentially the whole end of year transfer document, if you're so interested. But the point of note, you'll see about midway down, there's a paragraph. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll pull it up. Where you see the Parks and Rec budget transfer discussion of $100,000.
Yes.
In that, there is funds, is 20 some odd $1,000 for parking improvements at Marina Park.
Yep.
So that's helpful.
28-2.
Yeah, 28 too.
That's great.
So we did get a portion of the end of year budget transfer authorized by the council, specifically allocated to parking improvements down there. So whether that goes towards material and supplies, and staff still does the work, or whether that allows us to potentially put it out to bid. I don't think we probably, based on the quotes we got, I don't think we probably are there.
Right.
But it definitely helps us maybe execute it a little bit better than we were initially trying to implement.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Could you use a little bit of that to bring someone in to just rip the fence up?
Oh,
And
yeah.
use it as is?
I mean, possibly. I think that's a pretty, especially now that we're in the middle of the summer, it might be an easy lift for parks. They just got to bring the tractor down there and
Right.
pop them all and load them on a dump truck and haul
That's
them
what
out
I
of
mean,
there.
but if you don't have staff,
Yeah.
you know, somebody would come in and get it done in a half hour.
Right. Yeah. If I'll Rex is away till midweek next week, but I'll try and circle back with him when he gets settled back in to see if we can at least look at that, because
Nice
to your
work.
point, it's less than a half a day project. It's
Right.
more work just to get the equipment down there and do the job.
Yeah, not only that, it seeds the next step.
Mhm.
And so if people see it's being used and it's necessary, and it's taking pressure out of things, it's more likely to go to the next step.
Yeah. So, you know, that's all positive, for us and for the project down there. One thing that I have been observing with the parking, that I wonder if, as we develop this, for sure, as we develop the master plan, I think we should have strong consideration for a separate entrance to the trailer parking area, because I think it's less appealing for somebody to just kind of piggyback into it, whereas where it's connected now, I think the visual barrier helps, but I think if they have to literally go in a separate entrance from the road, that would be even more beneficial. I don't know if there's room to work that into the current configuration, but I thought I might bring it up with the town engineers and see if there's a possibility. It may be even as simple as redefining the parking lot orientation, right? Like maybe if the spaces are going 90 degrees turned, right, and one side of it is an entrance exit for car parking and the other side is an entrance exit for trailer parking, and maybe it takes the cars out of the equation down at the ramp too by doing that, right? If you had the car entrance at the first entrance and the trailer entrance at the second entrance, now they don't even move beyond that point.
Well, you know where the fence starts, when you come up off Hill Pond Road.
Yeah.
If you brought, where you pull into back down the ramp, you came up to bring your trailer in, it made that a one-way going in and around the backside to access all that parking, and just basically closed it off between the cars in that trailer area. Then you exit them where that old fence runs down where people walk in now, and exit that way.
Right.
And you have a do not enter over here. And I think that would give you something nice and clean where the back, if it's a circle, the back half of the circle would be the trucks and trailers and all that sort of thing, access by here and exit by here.
Right.
That would give you a really nice delineation.
Yeah, so I think it's worth looking at anyway, just while we're talking about it, because it's very easy just to spill into the back end of it.
And when you come up out of the ramp, if you could go straight across and go around the back and approach your parking spaces that way, back up and exit that way.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said, if we can do something early, we will. If not, certainly should be discussed for the master plan.
But just to get in there and yank that fence up.
I will do the asking.
Okay, good. Marina Park Master Plan, connectivity downtown Wakefield.
So, we're rapidly approaching the CIP season, the capital improvement budget season, where we make our recommendations to the town manager's office for consideration by the council. As it stands now, this is currently listed on the CIP for this upcoming fiscal year that we're planning. There's no funding allocated. So I think it will be important for us to be able to clearly define what some of the needs are and why we need this master plan, and what the benefits of the master plan and subsequent execution of it will provide to the residents and visitors of the town.
What do you think of the idea of taking the river dockage when that comes off lease?
That section that you're referring to is up for renewal. The town is having conversations. The town council is having conversations on that.
Is that price separate on the lease?
It is a separate lease altogether.
Okay.
So when there is information to disseminate to the public and from the council, if there is information, I'll let you guys know.
What would be if you can find out what that number is, just to have it in mind?
Yep.
So we have to say, okay, we're not gonna issue
What the
that.
town is making from that lease, or what the marina is making from the lease?
What the marina
Okay.
is paying for that lease.
I can tell you that, that's public. That's
Fine.
just $3,500 a year.
So all we would lose is $3,500 if we
Correct.
said no, thank you.
Correct. And that's what they'll have to weigh during their negotiations
Right.
for the lease renewal, which is up June of '26.
In the idea of the public access and the connectivity, I mean, the connectivity would have to go to those docks, basically.
Yes, yes, it would. Yep.
So taking it over makes sense just for the connectivity component.
Yep.
So coming up with a initial plan and start scoping some of this out, we were gonna have Kurt years ago put docks in himself where the new docks are.
Yeah.
And run that for us.
Right.
But that wasn't wanted for
Yeah.
other reasons.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea we could put together something that would be reasonable from a public access and a financial perspective to take it over?
Yeah.
And make it public access with
Yeah.
with a revenue component.
Yep, yep. Yeah, so I mean, that's all within your folks' purview. I
Right.
mean, you don't negotiate the leases, but certainly you can provide advice on the leases.
Because, to say, okay, we'll forego the 3,500 from the current lessee, but we're gonna develop it into a connector
Yep.
downtown for traffic flow that way, personnel.
Yeah.
But then we do something with the dockage.
Yep,
Maybe we make it something where people can come in, because right now there's no place to go.
yep. Yeah.
You get a dinghy at our dock,
Right.
but that's it.
Yeah, yeah, the depth of the water be an issue there for larger boats, but certainly you could look
Right.
for dredging and things of that
Yeah.
nature. Yeah.
Just a lot of people do wanna go to dinner.
Yeah, I think that's a huge deficiency
They're
of our
trying to
town. We
expand
have,
this.
For a longer lease.
we have no, we are the least friendly harbor to visit in Rhode Island. You cannot come here and dock anywhere, get a mooring,
Right.
walk into town, which is clearly walkable. It's
Sure.
not ideal right now with the intersections with the entrance and exit ramps to the highway.
Right.
So connecting Town Farm Park, as we've talked about, to Marina Park under the highway or around the highway and then having a place to dock would allow visitors to then be able to go to the restaurants downtown. And I think there was just a large real estate transaction for the property that they're looking at putting a boutique hotel in on Main Street. So there's a lot of potential there to be able to easily walk. I mean, that walk from the hospital to Main Street is not a big walk. It's
No.
just getting to that point on Kenyon Ave from the water is difficult right now.
I think Hillcrest is the one you gotta come up from.
Yeah, or you could come up with a public services building and connect to Town Farm Park. I mean, it's doable, but it's going to require engineering and probably a lot of funding, because you're going to have to basically have a elevated boardwalk along the water on the north side of Route 1 until you can connect up the hill, and then maybe need to be some switchbacks because it's
Yeah.
steep. So,
Yeah.
but it's obviously doable.
Yeah, one of the things, where the river goes underneath Route 1.
Yeah, that seems like a logical connection point for me, because you don't have to navigate getting under Route 1.
One thing, I was working at Raytheon at the time, so I was driving the Jamestown Bridge, the old one, every day, and they started to work on the new one. And one of the things we got DOT to do was straighten out the traffic flow, because they were stopping traffic every 2 seconds for the employees to walk across the old bridge to work on the new bridge.
Yeah.
They actually got to sling a gangway
Oh, yeah.
underneath the old bridge.
Yeah.
And so the walkways, you came out of the parking lot, which was on the south of the old bridge, and you could walk on this elevated walkway that was suspended from the old bridge.
Yeah.
Across and then down to the work sites.
Yeah.
And that straightened out the whole traffic issue, but it was really nice, it was cheap,
Yep.
it was a temporary. But,
Yeah.
you could do something like that on the Route 1 underpass, if you
Yep.
want to call it that.
Yeah. It's definitely doable.
Yeah.
There's all sorts
Funding's
of-
always
Just a matter
the
of
challenge,
cost.
right?
Sure.
But yeah.
The city of Austin in Texas has an incredible walk along the river like that, where there's a bunch of big overpasses that just like Route 1, but they just go right underneath,
Yep.
around, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's for walking and bike riding. And
Yeah,
it's all up.
I think it would be a phenomenal asset to the town to connect Main Street to the harbor, because right now the harbor is basically an afterthought. The businesses that are down there, which are important to the function of Marina Park, but by and large almost operate as if it's their property, and the town has given the boat ramp and a small overlook in the park area across the street. But that whole harbor area, that to your point, could have walkways and connected to downtown, and assets. The playground for small kids is on the other side of the highway. You could go back and forth between the two. And you have land up at Town Farm Park that's underutilized too, between the ball field and the overlook kind of at the top.
Did
So,
you ever determine the executive session question that came up, and how do we handle it? Responding to an executive session inquiry?
that hasn't come out yet.
Okay. Because the idea on this lease and non-renewal for that component to facilitate, this master plan implementation.
Yeah.
If we had something that was kind of solidifying before the master plan,
Yep, yep.
it might run some credence to the whole idea of let's.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see something. You'll see a decision.
Okay.
Because they're gonna have to notify slip holders. If the lease is up in June of 26,
Yeah.
slip holders will have to be notified by the company
Right.
in time for them to make necessary adjustments.
Well, we should,
So-
maybe if you're gonna do executive session stuff, you ought to start.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's flesh this out a little bit more.
yeah,
As a pie in the sky.
yeah,
This would be a key factor in starting the whole thing over.
yeah, yeah,
If we don't have access to this, it really kind of kills a lot.
yep, okay. Yeah, we'll look into that.
Okay, that's smart, we already did that. Harbor master report?
As you would expect, it's been kind of hair on fire as of late. We are in full swing. I had quite a few people come up to me on the 4th of July weekend and told me that this was the most boats they'd ever seen on Point Judith Pond, both at Dog Beach and in the anchorage. There was not supposed to be a private fireworks show. There was a private fireworks show. It was unpermitted.
On land or on water?
On tidal land. So at low tide, which they had in the evening, there was land.
Yeah.
At high tide, there is no land.
Yeah.
So it was what appeared to me to be a professional display that was controlled by some type of computer system.
Where did it go?
Yeah, like Beef Island?
The little rock island south of Beef Island. That tiny, like there's Beef Island where they do the bonfire.
Yeah.
Then there's like a little dip of water at low tide, and then
Yeah.
that little rock pile right there. So at sunset, there was a small skip that came out. A couple guys started scurrying boxes out across there.
Was it
And
receding?
The tide was low. It was
No, what was it, Mercedes place that was doing it?
I don't know. I mean, they had their party. It appeared that it was the same set of circumstances as we've had in previous years.
Right.
The fire marshal's aware of it. The Coast Guard is aware of it.
Yeah.
It's not something that's under my purview,
Yeah.
but certainly it's a concern that there's fireworks going off literally directly adjacent to the channel.
Right.
And if they go off sideways, there was a massive boat sitting there, and of course you have houses on the other side.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a funky boat. That one.
Oh, there was the Navy. That was the other weird thing, was there was that old Navy ship
Yeah.
that was out there,
Yeah.
which was unregistered and no name on it. But I've heard that that was that gentleman's boat, which is an odd boat for him. But it looks like an old torpedo training, like fetcher, like it picked up
Yeah.
the torpedoes after they launched them, type of thing, or they towed them or something, because it had like an arm coming off the
That
back.
ramp in the back?
No, it
had
just
like a davit arm.
it had a davit arm and like a fold down like metal gate.
No.
But it was old. It was an old Navy ship boat. Anyway, so that's the appropriate authorities involved. Are all aware. I don't know where that will go, but it happened in South Kingstown. So
Could you tell what size shells they were using?
I couldn't tell what size shells, but they were definitely. Initially, I was like, well, maybe some neighborhood people ran up to. New Hampshire, got a truckload of fireworks.
Right.
But they definitely were, some of them were large, commercial grade shells, based on my, unprofessional opinion. And the sequence at which they went off with was clearly scheduled by some type of, there wasn't someone running around lighting wicks.
With a cigar.
Let it go off. Yeah, so it was clearly some level of professional, I know that supposedly there's like phone apps now you can get and stuff to do it, but it's not my area of expertise, but just be aware that, and it went for 45 minutes.
Wow.
It was legit,
yeah.
and there was a fair amount of people that came out to see it. So anyway, we'll see what happens, but everybody's aware of it, and it's those jurisdictions' authority to deal with, and I'll stand by if they have anything that they need to bring up or whatever.
How's the switching docks? How's the 18 gallons in?
Not so well. I have an extra 10 gallons strapped to the front of the console.
Okay.
I have to get fuel every day with the 18 gallons, and if I take a run down down the southern end of the pond at speed and come back at the same speed, that's a good quarter plus tank of gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, you figure it's probably at wide open throttle, which I'm not running mostly, but in an emergency, I'm running probably 8 gallons an hour.
Yeah.
8-9 gallons an hour. So that doesn't go very far in an 8-gallon tank. So I have 10 gallons up front to hopefully get me home if I need that, or if I need it after hours, like that, 4th of July evening.
Yeah.
If I needed gas after 7, then I don't have access to it unless I go to the highway garage. So
Yeah.
we'll get through. We're managing. It's definitely interesting handing in receipts of 6 gallons, 8 gallons every day, but we'll get through it.
Any updates on the new boat?
No, they said I wouldn't hear anything until the fall. They said we'll kind of be radio silent until we start doing the CAD drawings in the fall.
Yeah.
We'll spark back up with it. So I figure I'd wait till after the holiday, and when I have like a rainy day or something, I might send them a little, hey, we're still on track kind of email schedule thing. But I have so many other things. We're in the process of hopefully hiring the boat ramp attendants for Indian Lake and Warden's Pond. We just did this.
It's not going to be like
It's a seasonal.
Yeah.
The applicants that applied were high school and college kids. There's nothing. I mean, it could have been people in those neighborhoods, or that are part of the Hydrilla Response Coalition, or whatever. But we didn't get any of those applicants. But so hopefully we'll get those hired and trained within the next week.
Where's the money coming for that?
That's part of the grant we got. So one grant was the $155,000 for the treatment at Indian Lake, which is a $280,000 project. The town is picking up the balance. We have $10,000 to fund boat ramp greeter, and then part of the CD3, the non-point source pollution grant we got for the CD3 boat cleaning station that we installed at Ward's Pond, also has a $10,000 grant component. That was, I think, a $55,000 grant maybe, or something along those lines, or $35,000, maybe $35,000. But anyway, so that's partially funded by the town, and then so we have to do that to fulfill the grant obligation. We just did the second treatment of this year, second of 6 at Indian Lake yesterday. So that's going forward. Got a lot going on.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, the high boat traffic over the 4th, which, every year it seems like goes up and up and up. From your perspective, how are you feeling about that? Did you think it was unmanageable, or is it it's just a lot of traffic and but you still, with your limited resources have it, where you need to be? And obviously I'm sure you're coordinating with Narragansett, Coast Guard and everything else, but is it going to get to the point where you're this is insurmountable task to manage from a safety perspective, or is it right now?
So I think it's that type of weekend is a keep the lid on things, and that was the case when I was a state officer. It's the same thing. Like, you're always going to be outgunned in those situations. Yeah, we definitely coordinate Narragansett and I. The Coast Guard has limited resources.
Right.
They're available as needed if they're able. You know, we have local fireboats if there's an emergency. That'll help augment. And I think the biggest thing is the presence, the flying of the flag, so to speak. Like, I'm just as visible as possible and as in all the areas that I can be, and so people see the boat. You know, if there's reason to make stops, we're making stops, lights and siren, just getting people's attention. And we've always done that. I will say, even though it was crazy busy, there was nothing out of the ordinary. Everybody was well behaved and orderly for the most part. Any infractions were minor. People visiting that maybe weren't aware of the no wake zone in certain areas that may not appear to be no wake zones, like in that open stretch along Jerry Brown and things of that nature. People, there was previous days prior on the Narragansett side when we had that blow come through, there was a boat on anchor at the Narragansett anchorage that did drag and did hit a boat. So tying those people together and getting them to exchange information, making sure that they were notifying DEM so DEM could do their boat accident investigation work. Things of that nature. It's just more facilitating and being visible. So I think it's fine. I think we're managing it. You know, it's never a bad thing to have more resources, and you know, so predominantly that weekend, because of the traffic level, we're focused on Point Judith Pond. So we're focused on Point Judith Pond. We can get Potter Pond, you know, at the same time, but places like Narrow River, Green Hill Pond, they're not going to get as much attention. The Narragansett has a boat in the water on Narrow River too, and it's not widely utilized, but it's available and it's easily accessible. So in a way, that's covered too.
Well, that's good. It's good to hear that, you know, despite the large amount of people out there, people weren't being, you know, out of control.
Yeah, no, it was surprisingly pretty. I mean, it was busy, but like not a lot of need for enforcement action.
But overall, the peak activities is only a few hours a season.
A few hours, yeah, or a few weeks, right? Yeah.
I mean, not continuous.
Correct.
You know, you get a blast and for an hour
Yeah.
or two, and then it calms down.
Right. So like on Tuesday, you're back to like the locals.
Yeah,
on
this
the
week
water,
it's been
right.
quiet.
Yes,
There's
because
warm
everybody
weather,
like
but-
went raging.
Right.
You know, weekdays. is
You know,
usually
Friday,
about-
Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday was like a full-on rager.
Right.
You know, by Tuesday it was like the guys you see every day that are out there.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, it's been very quiet. I mean, the weather obviously, but still,
Yeah.
it's been quiet.
And it's always been the case that it's a ghost town during the week,
Mm.
and then you get a couple of peaks.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, from a citations point of view, it hasn't been much. at
No,
all.
I had surprisingly not a lot of need for citation or warnings over the
Right.
weekend. You know,
Yeah, that's
contacts,
the good news.
basic safety things. Like I said, some you know, speed enforcement stuff. But by and large, it was pretty.
Yeah.
While very busy, it was not from an enforcement standpoint. It was not. There was not a lot of enforcement action needed.
Good.
So.
I think we're at the end.
Yeah, so you're not scheduled to meet in August unless there's a reason for you to meet in August.
Yeah.
Currently, I don't have one, unless you folks do. So the next meeting would be September 4th.
I guess
There goes summer.
we, the one item about getting it ready for a work session, we probably should put an agenda for that and some data package. So we can have it and be mulling it, you know, leading up to September, and then get serious with it.
Yeah, no, I think that makes
So
sense.
you want to have work sessions? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think we put the package together, you know, kind of a plan package of what we're gonna be doing and what we hope to
In
accomplish.
September?
And we start the process in September.
Okay.
Package it up now so we can all get a copy of it, look at it. You know.
Who's creating the package? Where do we get, what data are you looking to be packaged?
We're looking at what the plan is to approach the task of, what was it?
The dinghy dock.
You talking about the ordinance update or the master
Ordinance
plan for the park?
Ordinance update.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Do you want to meet for that, or you all just want to, on your own, Sam's already done a bunch of research on it. Sarah obviously has research because she was doing that in Newport.
I'd like to compile what we have
Okay.
and put a agenda plan of what we're looking to accomplish.
Okay.
And then get that as the baseline.
You'd like me to put that plan together and send out to you?
Do you have all the data?
I have only what Sam has sent to
Okay,
date,
so-
which I sent to all of you.
Yeah, we have all of
I
that.
sent that.
Now we need to put a plan together on it, where we're starting, what we're looking to accomplish.
Yeah. Who is creating that plan is my question.
I think-
Are you looking for something from me, or is this something you folks are gonna work on in August and put it back?
I think Sam is gonna work on it,
Okay.
because he's put the most energy into it now, but
Well, and I thought Sarah had really good input.
She will, because
for
she
this,
was in
yeah.
Newport for all those years,
Right.
so she's dealt with a lot of that.
yeah. And, but having basically a one sheet is the starting point, here's what we're trying to do, here's the output.
Yeah, I can get that to you well ahead of the September meeting, and then we can have that be an agenda topic for the.
Yeah, I mean, you already have it as an
Yeah.
agenda topic.
Yeah, but I think adding in like what the existing ordinances are, and then examples of, we have the examples, but, and then what the objective is, where
Right.
we wanna go.
Yeah, the W5HOW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking for clarification on if you need something from me and if you need to
No,
schedule a meeting in August or not. That's
I'll
all
pull it
I
all
need.
together and send it to you,
Okay.
and you can send it out for
Okay.
as an agenda topic for the September meeting.
Okay.
Because that'll be our starting baseline, we can talk to, kind of guide the process to conclusion.
Motion to adjourn?
I was just about to. Second.
Sam
All
was
in
the
favor?
second.
Yep. Aye.
Aye.